Your source for everything paranormal. Para-X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Merry meet and merry part, bright the cheeks and warm the heart. But tread the circle thrice about, to keep unwelcome spirits out. Bide within the law you must, in perfect love and perfect trust. Mind the threefold laws you should, 3 times bad and 3 times good. These 8 words the read fulfill, and ye harm none, do what ye will.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Well, merry meet once again, everybody, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Now, pardon the pun, but tonight I've cooked up a really good show, and my guest is author Laurel Woodward. Now, she's a writer, a gardener, and cook, living a magical life in the Pacific Northwest. She's been a witch for 20 years, a tarot reader, and has written for magazines and e-zines on the subject of healthy living, organic gardening, sustainable living, and the magic of tapping into creative energy. Now, we're going to be talking with her tonight about her new book, Kitchen Witchery, Unlocking the Magic in Everyday Ingredients. And as always, questions and comments from the chat room are welcome. And if you're listening live right now and want to participate, make your way over to paraxradionetwork.com. Hi, Laurel. We have a lot to cover tonight, so welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm hungry just thinking about it. I'm skimming through the recipes and food, and it's really good. And I think all witches and all pagans and most people are foodies anyway. And,
I think so too.
Yeah, and so this is kind of a book for that. I mean, and more, you know. So let's get started. I mean, I mentioned in the opening that you've been a witch for 20 years or so. Was being a kitchen witch your original path?
Oh, no. I started, I think like most new witches, I would cook up these huge rituals, usually at the new and the full moon, and spend days writing them, coordinating them with all the energies going on, and buying ingredients just for that. And sometimes it got to be almost paralyzing. And I came across the idea, I think I first read about it in a book Deborah Blake wrote about integrating mindfulness in conscious creation into your everyday life. Mm-hmm. And it was just freeing to discover that every single ingredient, every single thing around us has a magical energy that if we are only present and fix an intention, we can use it in everyday life.
So what you explain it in the book is amazing. I mean, it opens a lot of thought processes. Keep going.
Well, when you just apply attention and focus on doing one task at a time, and channel your energy into an act, then no matter what you're doing, it becomes an act of conscious creation, and you can make magic no matter the medium. I do it when I'm gardening. I do it when I'm doing a chore, when I'm taking a nice bath. But yes, now every day I do it when I'm cooking.
It's amazing. And you know, here's the thing, that you believe that there's a little bit of witch in all of us, but for some of those who might not understand what that means, what is a kitchen witch?
Well, a kitchen witch is a magically minded person who works with the magical energy in food to manifest an intention. I think all of us, on some degree, do have an intention when we work with food or when we start to create something. I mean, we're making something for a reason. But if you apply a magical reason, it is just so much more. You can make a meal to sweeten someone or to compel someone to accept an idea of yours, or you can. Well, of course, all mothers cook for wellness and for nurturing, but you can cook for love. Romance and food have always had a big partnership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that a way to anybody's heart is through their stomachs, or most people
Yes.
anyway. I mean, there are a few that just don't enjoy it, but but kitchen magic isn't just about doing a food-related spell here and there, is it?
Oh no. It's kitchen magic is just seeing the magical energies present in everyday ingredients and applying those to magic. You can take your herbs and dress candles for a ritual. You can make a tea for mindfulness. You can eat spinach for concentration, so you do well in an interview. I mean, you can apply it in any way.
Mm-hmm. And the book is kind of designed to elevate the way we approach cooking, and more or less, as you were talking about it, it's more of a ritual than a chore, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, that's what kitchen magic is about. It's about honoring food choices and being present throughout the creation process so that it transforms into a act of conscious creation and not just a chore. Yeah. There's an amazing store of energy in the food we eat. And by consciously preparing it and mixing in our energy, by using deliberate action of measuring, chopping, kneading, and peeling and stirring with our thoughts and our words and our breaths, we program that energy and shape it and can manifest whatever it is we choose to manifest.
And it's not just about the food, it's also about the tools we use, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is about the tools we use and how the food works into your body for, what it does for your health and your well-being as fuel, Mm-hmm. It's part of all of it.
And let me throw this in, too, that the book is for everyone, no matter what path you're on, and also for those listening who aren't practitioners. You don't have to be a witch to partake of kitchen witchery, do you?
No, you don't. Because all of us eat. All of us strive to make mealtime special. So we can all use a bit of kitchen witchery in our process.
And since it's all in us anyway, we just need to smack it out. Break it up and make that happen. Yeah. Well, it's so easy to buy fast food and frozen food and canned food because it's convenient. But most people most of those things aren't nutritionally up to par. And I think some people think that it's too time consuming. They're too busy to cook or to shop and, every excuse not to do it, or I'm a bad cook or whatever. But a lot of it is time constraints, people say. But you're the mother of 4. So you manage to be a wife, a mother, an author, a gardener, and half a dozen other things, and you've lived to tell the tale. So, what's your suggestion to people? Yeah, some people might be using that as an excuse because they don't like to cook, But
right, and I do understand that. I've always had a passion for cooking. I love to cook. I love to feed people. It's part of my nature. But having a large family, we cannot afford to eat out. It's so much more cost effective to buy fresh ingredients and bring them home and make a meal with real food. But I do keep a garden too, and all summer I do have homegrown organic vegetables to work with. And I know everybody gets tired of my zucchini but I think that's part of where this book came from, was all the different recipes to try to make a surplus more exciting.
And, yeah, and you know what? I think in days gone by, people were much healthier because they ate off the land, and there was no such things as additives and preservatives. What kind of chemicals are we exposing ourselves to on a regular basis with a normal diet?
Oh yes, it's really pretty frightening if you survive on a fast food diet. You are getting all kinds of things that aren't on the ingredient label. There's if you go to look at the Dirty Dozen, it's the 10 fruits and vegetables that have the most pesticides, and you'd be astonished at what's on them. I think strawberries are one of the worst, and I think it was like something like 67 different toxins.
Ouch.
It's our food supply, sadly, farmers are rewarded for a good-looking, low-price produce, not for the quality of the nutrients. And because of that, well, that's one of the reasons, but our food supply has been really
tainted.
Yes, it's been tainted. and when different people come to power, then they slash through all the regulations that are there to protect us in favor of big business making more money, and things like clean air, clean water, and clean food just fall aside for company profit. And I have read so many terrible articles about how in this country so many things are allowed that aren't allowed in Europe or Canada. How fast food, even our products that we release to other countries, are made with less ingredients. They have less chemicals and less preservatives because they're not allowed in those countries. So create, in order to have market share, they create a higher quality product to sell over there. I don't understand why our government won't step up and do that. Part of it is because we don't have a national health program. In other countries that do, they do have much better food and much higher, stronger regulation.
Yeah, it always boggles the mind because you read, what was it, Cheerios had pesticide in it. Everything sneaks out every so often, but
yes.
And then we're all like, oh my God, we grew up on Cheerios. Now, is that stuff in our body, and what's it going to happen, later in life? And it really is kind of scary. But then there are people that are leery about organic food because I think here and there, some foods are labeled as organic and really aren't. And so you can't always trust because, people are making a living, and I don't know if there's a penalty if somebody gets caught for saying it, that they're organic when they're not. But I'm guessing that some people get away with it. So other people don't trust that organic food is truly organic. How do we get around that?
Well, it's good to know your source, and in your community, if you take the time, you can, meet the farmers at your local farmers market. I love to go to farmers markets. Or you can just meet your produce people and see where they're getting their produce from, in the stores that you do shop in. But there are steep fines, especially if you're trying to pass off an organic that isn't organic. Organics is highly regulated. Unfortunately, I wish all the other markets were, but organics is highly regulated. But of course, the way to get away around it the most is grow your own. If you have a yard, why not dedicate part of your lawn to be a squash patch or a tomato patch, and experiment. It's very, very easy to grow your own organic spinach and lettuce. And it lasts, it's a cool season spring crop that will last all the way through to December, unless you live in it depends on where you live, of course.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in a real hot zone, it will die out and you have to replant for a fall crop. I love to garden though.
Well, I do too. But, there are people that, I've seen lots of ads for new ways to garden indoors. I think the last thing I saw was something about air gardening and special lighting and stuff, and it really made it simple. And so there really isn't an excuse, even if you don't have a yard. There was a thing I saw where you could grow a tomato plant in the house, and it hangs from the ceiling, so you know how tomatoes get so crazy wild, and it just kind of goes down this little area that the thing is attached to, and you can just pluck out a tomato. Even if and honest to God, you can't. You can rarely get a tomato that really tastes like a tomato anymore,
unless you grow your own.
Yes, yeah. That's the only way.
Right.
And
otherwise, you're right. The supermarket ones are hard and tasteless, and a lot of them are covered in this strange waxy buildup thing that I wonder what they're putting on them, but it has to be so they'll travel well and not get bruised.
Yeah, paraffin or something, and it's supposedly, not supposed to hurt you, but then you can always buy that liquid that takes all the dirt off and all the gook off before you eat it too. So, there must be a reason for that, it must be more viable than not. But, additives, preservatives, you might need them, but there's a very good question from the chat room. What effect does a preservative have on doing magical cooking?
Oh, well, that's a very interesting idea. Now, when I was young, which I was taught that magical energy is always greater the closer you are to your natural source. Mm-hmm. So anytime you add other energies in, it has the possibility to go a little wonky or not be the exact thing that you're shooting for. Mm-hmm. But a preservative, that's interesting. I guess it would depend on what it was. If it's
man-made, it's probably blocking what we can do around it.
Yeah, possibly,
in my head, I was thinking about it while you were talking, and it would be like putting up a wall and not letting
it very well could be, or weakening it.
Yeah.
Diluting it, yes. Right.
Yeah, so I think it does have an effect. Yeah, that's crazy. And a little bit scary, too, because I don't know what, back in the day when people farmed and lived different lives, it was easy to have a garden. And then, World War II, when it came up, I read that people had victory gardens because they didn't have enough food. So, and I really enjoy planting seeds and seeing something sprout.
I do too. It's a connection to the seasons, watching something sprout and grow and then harvesting it and making some food for your family. It's a magic all on its own. And it's just so rewarding. Yeah,
both taste-wise and otherwise, and health-wise.
A study came out not too long ago that said that, I forget what it is, but there's some compound in dirt that works on our serotonin, so that when we work the soil, it's almost like taking antidepressant pills. We dose ourselves in happiness just working the soil. And I think it's because we evolved. Our culture evolved, growing, as an agricultural culture, growing things in the field.
Yeah. We got away from the old ways, and grounding, walking barefoot in the dirt, and grounding yourself and touching, get dirty. Some people just say, oh my God, it's dirt. It's horrible dirt. Yeah, well, not all dirt's horrible unless, you're on a farm and there's a lot of pigs and cows and stuff.
Right.
I mean, you could dance around that, but there's nothing. Go ahead.
Isn't it funny that how when this pandemic hit, everyone started to go back to the old crafts. All of a sudden, people were crocheting and knitting and making sourdough and brewing. I thought that was very interesting. They were reaching for sustainability and looking to the old ways as a form of comfort. And I think that when we do take up an old craft, it puts new power into it and links us with our ancestors. And it's very enriching, not only in what we're learning as an art, as a craft, but it's enriching to us spiritually as it brings the old ways back to life.
Yeah. And again, it's healthier to eat as little. Everybody can, I'll go out for a double cheeseburger with bacon every so often. You can't not do that all the time, but once in a while. But then there's something about steaming a basket full of veg, just without seasoning. Don't salt them. Don't anything. That you pick them and you pluck them and you put them in the steamer. And some people, I swear to God, some people have never tasted what a real zucchini tastes like.
I know, it's incredible. One of my favorite things to do is just chop up a whole bunch of vegetables and drizzle them with olive oil and roast them in the oven until they're nice and tender. And it's that to me is a meal in itself. And it doesn't even matter what the mix is.
No, I prefer root vegetables in that, the rutabagas and the turnips and the potatoes and all that. But, you can kind of do the same thing with anything. And I think
eggplants are awfully good that way.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, we need to get back to know what real food tastes like.
Yes, I agree.
And then
real food is very cheap. If you're buying an eggplant, you could buy a nice big one for under $3. And
it goes a long way.
It does. It does go a long way. I think that once someone who doesn't cook does embrace learning how to cook with vegetables, with fresh vegetables, they would be amazed at how it makes them feel and how it makes them, their whole perception of life changes pretty much. I had to stop eating processed food. Our bodies are amazing machines, but after a while, if you don't give them good food, you will get a chronic disease. And unfortunately, psoriasis and arthritis runs in my family. And if I don't eat a clean diet, then I get a debilitating pain in my joints, and I get
Did we lose anybody?
Sorry, I lost you there.
Good. Okay, I thought it was me. All right. That's fine. Yeah, I finally saw that it was gone. You can pick up where you left off if you remember before the shock of being lost.
I don't know what you heard. I was just rambling on.
Yeah, when something like that happens, when Skype cuts us off or his phone cuts us off, you completely forget what you were talking about, even if it was the most important thing in the world. If it had your life attached to it, it still wouldn't work. But we've got a couple of minutes before break, and you were talking about in the book that kitchen magic is green magic. Now, does that include not only cooking green? Does it also include like composting and all that stuff? Explain that.
Okay. Well, yes, it can include composting. I mean, your kitchen scraps, if you're a gardener, your kitchen scraps are gold. and you just add them to your compost. Anything that is organic, that is like potato peels or carrot ends or any sort of vegetable. I throw my eggshells in too, and my coffee grounds, and it makes an amazing compost that feeds my garden soil and helps my vegetable plants be their most vital.
Some people are going to say that growing your own is doing a bad deed to gardeners who make a living selling their crops. I don't think that everybody is going to all of a sudden grow gardens and interfere with that, but I just think it's important to taste what you're cooking and know where it came from. And I mean, the preservatives are scary. I mean, when I was reading a while ago about somebody left a McDonald's hamburger out for 6 months? And
I read that too.
It didn't
break down. It didn't change. I read that too.
And
that's frightening. Think what that's doing to your insides.
Well, yeah, that's it. And there was another thing about Hostess Twinkies, and they closed down the Twinkie factory. And 50 years later, they went to the building because they hadn't torn it down, and there was the pipe where the filling from the Twinkies
so gross.
was there, and they turned it on, and they took out some of the filling and took it to a lab, and it was still good.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's frightening.
Yeah. So,
well, my next book that I have coming out in July is Backyard Garden Witchery, and it is all about gardening, and about how to connect with the land and how to create your own sacred space. And it has a lot of information about growing your own food and growing your own plants for magical practice. I really don't think that it's doing a disservice to our farmers. If anything, it's making a awareness so that we seek out our farmers, and not the bad guys are the factory farms. The bad guys are the corporations that are looting our food supply and raping the world. Not the individual farmers. And I think that when you have an awareness for food, you do start to seek out your local farmers and visit the farmers markets and support them, and not buy the factory created fast food crap,
Yeah. I think that's why I think so many people are really flocking to the outdoor markets and stuff, because the food just tastes better from there, and you really know where it's coming from. Yeah.
The quality is amazing, and you can talk to the people who grew it and find out what they, how they grew it. And there are so many more varieties available at a farmer's market. I went to visit my daughter in New Jersey a couple months ago, and the very first day I was there, we went to the farmer's market and bought a whole bunch of vegetables, and her husband bought some mushrooms. And instead of going out like we'd planned, we spent the whole week eating what we bought and making new meals from what we bought. And it was so much fun. All three of us enjoy cooking. But it was so much fun, and it was so much healthier, and we spent a lot less money.
Yeah. And like I said, you just be surprised at things, how creative you can get when you just have a whole bunch of fresh vegetables in front of you or whatever. It just kind of gets your thought processes going. And you say, well, even people say they can't cook. Well, you can. Just be creative, and you'll see some really wonderful things come out of it.
That is true. That is true.
And sometimes you don't, but it's still edible. You have to give it a shot here and there, but it's really, it makes you feel good when you cook, and people like what you cook, or even if you like it works for you and somebody doesn't like it, because to each his own, basically. But well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to really delve into the book a little bit deeper. So we'll be back after this quick break. So stay put.
Stirring the Cauldron will be right back, so don't go away.
If you end up with webbed feet,
Remember, you've been warned. Missed an episode of Stirring the Cauldron? Then be sure to check out marlabrooks.com and check out the archive. And while you're there, check out Marla's weekly Witches Oracle card reading. Explore the site to find many great resources, such as information on tarot, oracle readings, metaphysical consultations, and links to all of Marla's books. That's marlabrooks.com.
Throughout time, events have occurred that have shaped human history. Spirit voices from the past have many stories to tell, and for the past several years, channelers Barry and Connie Strom have been conducting live channeling sessions and relaying those stories and messages from those on the other side. We invite you to tune in to Barry and Connie's new show, Channeling History, on the Para X Radio Network, every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, as they relay the messages of those voices from the past, the ones who have witnessed history firsthand, and those who have made history themselves.
Hey everyone, it's Marla. If you like tonight's episode of Stirring the Cauldron and the archive podcast as well, take a look at the show's YouTube channel and check out the dozens of shows that are there just waiting to be heard. New shows are added each week, and while you're there, why not subscribe? It's free. And if you click on that tiny little bell icon at the top of the page, you'll be notified when new shows are available. Just go to youtube.com and then type in Stirring the Cauldron Para X, and the link will appear. Just like magic.
Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And my guest tonight is Laurel Woodward, and we're talking about her book, Kitchen Witchery. Now, Laurel, I want to talk about the energy of food because for some reason I thought, well, I never thought about the properties of foods. You know, I mean, just as crystals and essential oils or incense each carry their own energy and purpose, so does food. So you explain the properties of each ingredient in the book, and there are many. For example, broccoli is for health, prosperity, protection, power, vitality, salt for cleansing and healing and protection, and watermelon for abundance and cleansing and healing and all that good stuff. So let's talk about that because, like I said, for some reason, it didn't click with me at first. And I'm like, oh my God, we can make recipes for certain reasons? Yeah, okay. So I'm throwing this one to you.
Okay, yes. That was one of the things that got this book in the order it is the magical properties. Some foods are good for beauty spells. Some good foods are good for love spells. Some foods are good for success or vitality or awakening the mind. But yes, just like each crystal, every food does, not just food, every ingredient has its own magical properties. I think as beginner witches, everyone understands how herbs and spices would have them. But when you become aware that it's just everything all around us, I think it's just so empowering.
It's because I'm thinking, okay, now certain things like cayenne peppers and things like that, we know they're spicy and whatever. Mm-hmm. But I was just sitting here thinking about a banana. I'm not sure what that would be for, maybe fertility or something, but...
Yes, definitely fertility.
Yeah. But, you can think of all of these different things, and it's like, oh, okay, but everything does have a meaning.
Banana has magical energy for fertility, love, prosperity, and spirituality. bananas through history have symbolized love, sexuality, and fertility. But they were associated with Jupiter and have a benevolent energy for prosperity too. So you could make up some banana bread for a prosperity spell and eat it, enjoying the wonderful texture and taste of it to manifest opportunities coming through your door.
Mm-hmm. And just like as we approach regular spells, spells are like a recipe, actually, and so the mindset should kind of be the same. I mean, we decide on what we want. We set an intention, maybe lunch, dinner, friends, whatever, picnic on the beach, or even packing a school lunch, and gather then the necessary tools and ingredients to make it all happen. And you throw in an incantation here and there also, right?
Yes, I love to tell each ingredient what I want it to do. I think that just the simple programming it with a word is a good way to get your intention into the recipe. But, it can be even more than that.
Okay, somebody was throwing rotten tomatoes around.
Oh, no.
I don't know, but that, whatever happened, happened. But thank you guys in the chat room for hanging in. We've got some questions, and I've got a couple more things to talk about, and we've still got 16 minutes. We're good. So let me see, because again, I forgot where we've left off. But, I want to say that there's so much more in the book than just recipes. It's all about magical transforming cooking from drudgery into a magical act of healing and manifesting. But there are lots of recipes, including one chapter that I think a lot of people will be interested in. They're recipes of the season. So it's got things like soul cakes for Samhain or candied flowers for Beltane. That must have been fun, trying to choose one for each Sabbath.
Yes, it was. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the candied flowers sound good to me. Let me get to some questions. Okay.
Okay.
Taffy wants to know, is there any particular garden item that people should grow or cultivate that'll help with mental well-being?
You know, just being outside really does help with mental well-being, but spinach is fantastic. Funny you should say that, though, because I noticed that before the pandemic, my practice was all about empowering prosperity and success and a really sunny outlook. And it shifted to one of just simple wellness, making bath bombs and teas and comforting foods. And I really embrace the different nervines that have energy for anxiety and just soothing. And there are surprisingly a lot that we can grow, like chamomile, or hawthorn leaves, or catnip. All those are natural nervines that do work for anxiety and to alleviate stress and just to. I know the world we're in right now is just so chaotic. It's making all of us have an edge to our life. But I would start with something that you enjoy, because enjoyment is a big part of unwinding also.
Yeah.
If you've never gardened, I think, and if you have a sunny spot, I would start with maybe zucchini, just because it's so easy and it's so prolific. It's a wonderful plant to grow.
It is.
Pumpkins are another one of my favorites.
Yeah. And you know what? I love the smell. When I was a kid, getting a jack-o'-lantern, cutting a pumpkin, and pulling out the seeds, that aroma, I love that smell. You know, it's like, whoa, it's a childhood memory, but it's still delicious.
And pumpkins are really fun to grow too, and you can make so many things. I had 21 pumpkins this year, so I had to learn a lot of new recipes. And one of them was a pumpkin fettuccine that was just amazingly delicious.
Oh, that sounds good.
So, I mean, yeah, pumpkins don't have to just be sweet. That you can make all kinds of savory things with them.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the book is organized by food types, and throughout, you share the magical ins and outs and teach us clever ways to turn any ingredient into a magical tool. And speaking of magic, this sounds like a magic thing. Question from the chat room: can the length or shape of the food that you're preparing affect the magic? Like how long noodles mean long life? That kind of thing. Oh,
yes, you can make something. You can add meaning to something through color or shape. It's part of the way you're manifesting it. Yes, you definitely can do that. And usually when I start a recipe and I come up with an ingredient, I write it right at the top, just so that it's a key point and a focus point for the entire through the entire recipe.
Well, that's a good idea. And then the other question, what about aromatic foods like vanilla and cinnamon are good? Are veggies kind of the same with the aromas?
Yes. If you've ever roasted peppers and onions together, it just makes the house smell amazing. But smell is an amazing sensory tool that connects us to memories and emotions from the past, and it makes new memories too. One of the things I love to do when I'm having people over is to make something that is very aromatic, so that when they walk into the house, the smell hits them, and they're greeted with a hint of what's to come. The other day I had a friend over, and I baked. I saw an old Julia Child show, and she had this chef on who made this focaccia bread into forgazzi.
Mm.
And it's very easy to do. I was surprised at how easy it is to do. And it's delicious. It has a great texture and crunch. And anytime you bake bread, it just makes the house smell so amazing.
Yeah, it does. And, and then there are smells that put people off. I mean, there's certain foods we like and certain foods we don't. I mean, somebody gave me a beautiful Yankee candle. It's huge and layered, and it was basically hazelnut. And I don't like the smell of hazelnut at all.
And also, a lot of the crucifers don't smell that pleasant, like cabbage or broccoli or cauliflower or Brussels sprouts. I mean, they're great for you, but they do sort of stink up the house a bit.
Yeah, hard-boiled eggs kind of get that sulfite smell in the house too,
yes,
or whatever.
That is true.
I was being polite, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's when you walk into somebody's house and they're cooking. Oh my gosh, I mean, all right, it's like Pavlov's dog. The chat room has been talking for the last 10 minutes about different foods. And garlic and tomatoes and olive oil and oregano with some Italian bread to dip,
oh, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm here going crazy. And then somebody loves cucumbers with a mixture of vinegar and oil with celery seeds. So, okay, take that one if you can, if it's not putting you on the spot. Cucumbers, vinegar, oil, and celery seeds. What kind of magic potion does that concoct?
Well, I can't think of celery seed off the top of my head. I have to look it up. But all the other ones would be for refreshment and reviving and vigor. So energy, restoration. Oh, celery seed might be for vision. I don't.
Yeah,
I have a
that's
terrible
okay.
memory. That's why I have to write everything down.
Well, me too. But I was just, kind of wondering. I'm looking at it and thinking, well, she's probably concocted a really beautifully done recipe, magical food, and doesn't even know it.
Yeah, it sounds delicious.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I'm getting really hungry. And we're talking about garlic in there. I love garlic. Yeah, I tell you, they're foodies. And somebody bought
garlic has lots of energy for protection.
Yes, it does.
Not just the food garlic, but you can save the peels and you can burn them in different rituals. See, food magic isn't just about food and eating. It's using the ingredients in your practice. Making simmer pots and incenses and teas and herbal mixtures to roll your candles and empower rituals, or to use as an infusion for a bath spell.
Yeah, and your book, I mean, it's absolutely full of all kinds of things. I mean, it's not a small book, and let me see, 350 pages or something, and it's a heavy book, so you'll get exercise picking it up and down. So there'll probably be a recipe in there that will give you strength. I'm pretty sure there are, but I just opened. I'm doing a little bibliography. Never mind. I opened the book and I found a recipe for chocolate zucchini loaf. That sounds really good, and I would never have thought of mixing zucchini and chocolate.
Oh, it is very tasty. But I do love zucchini, and I have such an abundance of it. I have to come up with different ways to get my family to eat it. They get tired of it much quicker than I do.
Oh, I know, but oh my God, chocolate zucchini. Well, anything chocolate is okay.
Yeah, that's true.
But, you talk about, the chapters are outlined in such a way that it's real easy to find different things that you're looking for. It's got like wheat and other flours, gluten-free flours, beans, peas, lentils, nuts and seeds. All these are separate chapters. Oils and vinegars, sugars and sweets, vegetables, fungi, whatever, however you say it, fruits, then hydration. You talk about what we drink, and that's something that we really need to touch on in the couple minutes we have left, because I'm really a culprit about this. I don't hydrate myself enough, and it's stupid. Let's talk about some things that you can do to, like, hydrate yourself without...
One of the best things we can do is just first thing in the morning, drink a glass of water. Don't go for the coffee or the tea or whatever caffeinated beverage you drink. Just drink a glass of water. It will get your digestive moving. It hydrates your body. It awakens your mind. It's just so good for your body.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people don't drink water.
I know. I remember my great aunt used to drink hot water with lemon every morning, first thing.
And that's great for you. That
Yeah.
really is good for you.
The lemon kind of perks you up and wakes you up and probably helps digestion, doesn't it, to some degree?
Well, yes, and lemon is cleansing too. So it does help with any bacteria or anything that might be in the water or in your stomach. But I think it's just also for taste and pleasure, having a little flavor. But lemon water is very good for you.
Yeah, and I like kind of eating lemons just raw. And I was working in a medical office, and we had a dentist in there, and he saw me eating raw lemon and jumped up and down and told me I was eating the enamel off my teeth.
Oh, no.
But it was still good. Yeah.
I love citrus too.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to get really close on time, so I don't want to run out before we let people know, where to find you. I mean, it's an amazing book, and I'm glad that you're here with us. And when your next book comes out, let's talk about the gardening, okay? Okay. Come back. And where can people find out more about you and your books and your events and your blog?
Well, I am at laurelwoodward.com, and I have a schedule on there, and I have a blog, Liminal Landscapes, and I'm on all the medias too. You can find those from Liminal Landscapes, and I have a lot of recipes on Liminal Landscapes. As I cook through the seasons, I just throw them up there, and things that I've come up with and things that worked well. It's a good place to keep them. But I have my gardening book coming out in March, and I'm working on a wellness book right now.
Oh, wow.
It will be for the following year.
Well, I'm totally interested in the gardening book because I'm like gardening. I love gardening. So,
they were teasing me because it's a big one. It's I don't know how many pages it's going to end up, but it's going to be quite the tome.
Size does matter sometimes, and I'm looking forward to it. So thanks again, Laurel, and want to thank everybody else who was listening in tonight. And until next time, everybody, blessed be, and merry meet again. Good night.
This has been another edition of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Be sure to tune in next week at the same time for another great guest and more fun. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2009.
You have been listening to the Para X Radio Network.